Procurement risk and procurement risk management. The management of procurement risks. The Solomon Fadun, Risk Management of Everything channel, presents Procurement risk and procurement risk management. The management of procurement risks. Welcome to the Solomon Fadun, Risk Management of Everything channel. On this channel, you will see videos on risk management and the application of risk management to diverse areas and sectors. If you are new here, subscribe to our channel and press the notification button to notify you when we upload new videos. Thank you. This video discusses procurement risk and procurement risk management. It explains the management of procurement risks. In this video, you will understand the meaning of procurement, types of procurement, the key differences between procurement and purchasing, procurement process, procurement risk, the need to manage risks in the procurement process, sources of procurement risk, common procurement risks, mitigating procurement risks, procurement risk management, the importance of procurement risk management process, minimizing procurement process risks, procurement compliance, benefits of procurement compliance, critical elements of procurement compliance, types of procurement compliance, challenges of procurement compliance metrics, best practices for ensuring procurement compliance, procurement management software, what procurement software do, benefits of procurement software, and types of procurement software. Now, let us start. What is procurement? Procurement entails sourcing and purchasing raw materials, goods, and services by a company from suppliers and vendors. It involves acquiring goods, services, or other assets from external sources. Procurement involves deciding what to buy based on the company's needs and budget. It entails identifying the need for a particular item, researching and selecting suppliers, and reasonable contract negotiation to ensure goods and services are delivered accordingly. Procurement is critical for any organization, as it can significantly impact its costs, efficiency, and overall success. Effective procurement practices can help an organization to 1. Reduce costs. An organization can save money on its purchases by negotiating better deals with suppliers and using efficient procurement processes. 2. Improve efficiency. By streamlining procurement processes and using technology to automate tasks, an organization can save time and improve overall efficiency. 3. Increase quality. By carefully selecting suppliers and enforcing quality standards, an organization must maintain high standards to deliver quality goods and services to customers, and 4. Reduce risk. By carefully managing supplier relationships and contracts, an organization can mitigate the risk of disruptions to its supply chain. There are many different types of procurement, including 1. Direct procurement. This is the most common type of procurement, in which an organization purchases goods or services directly from a supplier. 2. Indirect procurement. This involves purchasing goods or services from a supplier that is not a direct vendor of the organization. For example, an organization might buy office supplies from a distributor that is not a manufacturer of the supplies. And 3. Outsourcing. This involves hiring a third-party company to manage the procurement process for an organization. Here are some practical examples of procurement. 1. A company that needs to purchase new computers for its employees would go through the procurement process to identify potential suppliers, negotiate contracts, and ensure that the computers are delivered on time and to specifications. 2. A government agency that needs to purchase new software for its information technology, IT, systems would go through the procurement process to identify potential suppliers, negotiate contracts, and ensure that the software meets its security and functionality requirements. And 3. A retail store that needs to purchase new merchandise would go through the procurement process to identify potential suppliers, negotiate contracts, and ensure that the merchandise arrives on time and in the correct quantities. Procurement is a complex process that requires thorough planning and execution. By following best practices and using technology effectively, organizations can optimize their procurement processes and achieve their strategic goals. Regardless of size and industry, no business is entirely self-sufficient. Everyone relies on purchasing goods and services from third-party suppliers to maintain internal operations and manufacture products to sell. Types of procurement. Companies engage in different types of procurement, depending on business needs and immediate goals. Here are 8 significant kinds of procurements. 1. Direct procurement. Direct procurement involves acquiring goods or services that directly contribute to producing a company's end product. This is the acquisition of goods and services directly related to production within your organization. It encompasses items like raw materials, components, sub-assemblies, and machinery. These materials directly impact the manufacturing process and are crucial for creating the final product. A good example is a car manufacturer who purchases steel from a supplier to produce car bodies. Other examples include the raw materials, software, services, or products that directly support the production of the products your company sells. These are considered direct procurements as they directly affect car production. 2. Indirect procurement. Indirect procurement entails the acquisition of goods or services that support a company's overall operations but are not directly involved in the production process. Anything not directly related to producing goods is indirect procurement. This category includes office supplies, software the company uses to communicate internally, or facilities services not connected to a specific product your company offers. Whether direct or indirect, companies require 2 types of purchases: goods procurement and services procurement. A good example is a software company that purchases software licenses from a software vendor to develop its products. Examples include office supplies, furniture, information technology, IT, equipment, software licenses, maintenance services, and transportation costs. These are indirect procurements, as the software licenses are not directly involved in producing the software. 3. Goods procurement. Goods procurement refers to any tangible object purchased, whether finished or unfinished. It involves acquiring tangible items that can be physically touched or stored. It encompasses raw materials, finished goods, components, spare parts, and office supplies. These items contribute to producing, operating, or maintaining a company's products or facilities. A good example is a construction company that purchases lumber, bricks, and cement to build a house. Hence, raw materials, office supplies, desks, and other physical goods are examples of goods procurement. 4. Services procurement. Any non-tangible purchase falls under services procurement. Services procurement involves acquiring intangible services that contribute to a company's operations but cannot be physically touched or stored. This includes professional offerings such as consulting services or facilities repair. It encompasses consulting services, legal services, marketing services, IT services, maintenance services, transportation services and purchases such as software, with software as a service, SaaS, increasing in business use and often becoming one of an organization's most significant service-based expenditures. These services provide expertise, support, or functionality to a company's operations. 5. Strategic procurement. Strategic procurement goes beyond purchasing goods and services. It involves aligning procurement decisions with the overall business strategy. It considers supply chain management, risk management, sustainability, and innovation to ensure that procurement decisions contribute to long-term business goals. An excellent example of strategic procurement is a company prioritizing purchasing from local suppliers to support sustainable practices and strengthen its community ties. 6. E-procurement. E-procurement uses electronic tools and technologies to automate and streamline the procurement process. It includes online catalogs, e-bidding platforms, e-invoicing systems, and procurement management software. E-procurement enhances efficiency, reduces costs, and improves transparency. An example of e-procurement is a company that utilizes an online procurement platform to manage its bidding process, track supplier performance, and generate reports. 7. Outsourcing procurement. Outsourcing procurement involves hiring a third-party company to manage all or part of the procurement process. This can benefit companies that need more internal procurement expertise or want to focus on core competencies. Outsourcing can free up resources and improve procurement efficiency. An example of outsourcing procurement is a manufacturing company that outsources its procurement of raw materials to a specialized procurement firm. 8. Reverse procurement. Reverse procurement involves the acquisition of used goods or materials for recycling, remanufacturing, or disposal. The essence of reverse procurement is to reduce waste, maximize resources, and minimize environmental impact. Reverse procurement is becoming increasingly important in a circular economy. An excellent example of reverse procurement is a company that collects used batteries from its customers and partners with a recycling company to process and reuse the materials. These procurement types represent how companies acquire goods and services to support their operations and achieve their strategic goals. Effective procurement management ensures that organizations get the right products and services at the right time while optimizing costs and minimizing risks. Key differences between procurement and purchasing. Procurement and purchasing are often used interchangeably, but they are two distinct aspects of acquiring goods and services for a business. Procurement is a broader term involving acquiring goods and services, managing supplier relationships and ensuring that goods are delivered on time and to specifications. This includes activities such as 1. Identifying and defining needs, understanding the organization's requirements for goods or services and ensuring they align with business objectives. 2. Sourcing and selecting suppliers, identifying and evaluating potential suppliers, negotiating contracts, and ensuring suppliers meet the organization's quality and ethical standards. 3. Managing supplier relationships, building and maintaining solid relationships with suppliers, ensuring ongoing communication, and resolving issues promptly. 4. Contract management, negotiating, reviewing, and enforcing contracts to protect the organization's interests. And 5. Performance measurement, tracking and evaluating supplier performance to ensure they meet the organization's expectations. Purchasing is a narrower term that refers specifically to the transactional aspects of procurement, such as 1. Creating purchase requisitions, generating requests for purchase from internal departments or individuals. 2. Obtaining quotes from suppliers, requesting and evaluating bids from potential vendors. 3. Issuing purchase orders, placing official orders with selected suppliers. 4. Receiving and inspecting goods, receiving goods from suppliers and checking for quality and compliance with specifications. And 5. Assessing invoices and approving payments, reviewing invoices for accuracy and authorizing supplier payments. Procurement entails sourcing, acquiring, and paying for goods and services. While many organizations use terms like procurement, purchasing, and sourcing interchangeably, these are different components of the total procurement function. Procurement involves the subset of unique processes when an organization is sourcing something. These include negotiations with various vendors or suppliers, onboarding vendors to the organization, and strategically selecting goods and services based on a firm's objectives, budget and values. Purchasing entails the process of how goods and services are ordered. Purchasing sits within the more extensive procurement process. Procurement is a more strategic and comprehensive process encompassing the entire life cycle of acquiring goods and services. At the same time, purchasing is a more transactional function that focuses on placing orders and ensuring that goods are delivered as expected. Having differentiated between procurement and purchasing, let us discuss a procurement process. Procurement process. A procurement procedure is a set of guidelines and steps a company follows to acquire goods and services from suppliers. It is a critical part of the supply chain management process and helps to ensure that companies get the right products and services at the right time while minimizing costs and risks. The specific steps of a procurement procedure may vary from company to company, but they typically include the following. 1. Needs identification. A department or individual within the organization identifies the need for a particular good or service. 2. Request for quotation, RFQ. A quote request, RFQ, is issued to potential suppliers. The RFQ outlines the company's requirements for the goods or services, including specifications, quantities, and delivery dates. 3. Supplier selection. Suppliers are evaluated based on their responses to the RFQ, including their price, quality, delivery time, and reputation. 4. Negotiation. Negotiations are held with selected suppliers to reach a mutually agreeable price for the goods or services. 5. Contractual agreement. A contract is finalized between the company and the selected supplier, outlining the terms and conditions of the agreement. 6. Purchase order, PO, issuance. A purchase order, PO, is issued to the supplier, which formally authorizes the purchase of the goods or services. 7. Goods receipt and inspection. Goods are received from the supplier and inspected to ensure they meet the agreed-upon specifications. 8. Invoice approval and payment. Invoices are reviewed and approved for payment to the supplier. Payments must be made based on the terms of the contract. 9. Performance evaluation. Supplier performance must be evaluated regularly to meet the company's expectations. And 10. Continuous improvement. Procurement procedures are continuously reviewed and improved to optimize the procurement process and achieve better results. All the procurement process steps must be documented for internal and external audits to ensure a central location to store invoices, orders, and other accompanying documentation. There are several risks associated with procurement, known as procurement risk. Hence, it is necessary to discuss procurement risk. Procurement risk. Procurement is a complex field that requires proactive risk management to avoid negative consequences like increased costs, poor quality products, and legal disputes. Procurement risk is the potential for financial and operational loss arising from the procurement process. Procurement risks occur when purchasing or sourcing products, services, or resources becomes unreliable. Procurement risks are scenarios where businesses could fail to buy an essential product, resource, or service. Procurement risks are associated with the probability of failure of specific procurement processes. Hence, there is a need to assess procurement risks to streamline the procurement process to mitigate fraud, reduce cost, and improve product and service delivery. A procurement risk is the risk of failure in procurement processes related to purchasing resources, services, or products in a company. Verifiable transactional data must back every purchase in a business. Since decision-making is required at several stages before the transaction is approved, companies must analyze procurement risks at every stage to maximize accuracy and efficiency. Depending upon the nature of the organization, the severity of procurement risks will likely vary. Some organizations deal with a significant procurement risk at every supply chain step. Failure to identify procurement risks by companies may result in unreliable suppliers, not meeting deadlines, and resource waste. For many businesses, the COVID-19 pandemic has reminded them of the impact of these risks on business performance. In business, procurement risk needs to be appropriately managed in your supply chain since it can affect the health and revenue of your business. What would happen if you put in a purchase order for the raw materials you need to produce your widgets, but the goods never arrived? A business organization may also face risks associated with the procurement process from a vendor or partner, which may be out of their control. Having explained the meaning of procurement risk, we now discuss the importance of managing risk in the procurement process. The need to manage risks in the procurement process. The procurement process is dynamic. Managing risk in procurement is crucial for ensuring a business's smooth and successful operation. Effective risk management can help organizations to 1. Reduce costs. By identifying and mitigating potential risks, organizations can reduce the likelihood of costly mistakes, such as purchasing defective goods or experiencing supply chain disruptions. This can lead to significant savings over time. 2. Improve efficiency. By implementing proactive risk management strategies, organizations can streamline their procurement processes and reduce wasted time and resources. This can free up personnel to focus on more strategic initiatives. 3. Enhance quality. By carefully selecting and managing suppliers, organizations can ensure they receive high-quality goods and services that meet their needs. This can help improve customer satisfaction and reduce the risk of product recalls. 4. Protect reputation. A robust risk management approach can help to protect a company's reputation by minimizing the likelihood of ethical or legal violations. This can be particularly important for organizations that deal with sensitive data or operate in regulated industries. And 5. Mitigate supply chain disruptions. Organizations can better prepare for and respond to disruptions by monitoring potential disruptions and developing contingency plans. This can help to maintain business continuity and avoid significant financial losses. Here are some specific examples of how risk management can benefit organizations in procurement. 1. A manufacturing company identifies a potential risk of price fluctuations in a critical raw material. By implementing a hedging strategy, the company can lock in a favorable price and protect itself from potential cost increases. 2. A retail store develops supplier evaluation criteria that include risk factors such as financial stability, environmental compliance, and ethical practices. This helps the company to identify and avoid suppliers that pose potential risks to its brand reputation or business operations. 3. A software company implements a performance management system for its suppliers. This system tracks supplier performance on key metrics such as delivery times, product quality, and customer satisfaction. By identifying and addressing performance issues early on, the company can prevent them from escalating into major problems. 4. A logistics company uses a supply chain visibility tool to monitor the status of its shipments in real time. This helps the company identify and respond quickly to potential disruptions, such as weather events or port delays. Generally, here are some benefits of managing risks across the procurement process. 1. Proper and responsible use of resources. 2. Enhanced service. 3. Improved supplier and client relationships. 4. Increased appetite for innovation. 5. Better customer service. And 6. A data-driven culture that puts business-altering insights at your reach. In essence, effective risk management is an essential component of a successful procurement strategy. By proactively identifying and mitigating potential risks, organizations can protect their bottom line, improve efficiency, enhance quality, protect their reputation, and maintain business continuity. Now, let us discuss sources of procurement risk. Sources of procurement risk. There are aspects of risk associated with procurement risk. 1. Product shortage risk. This arises if the available product is less than the required products by the customers. 2. Supplier risk. When companies work with suppliers that negatively impact the delivery of their product to end users. And 3. Inflation risk. When the price of available products suddenly increases. Meanwhile, there are 4 primary sources of risk in procurement. 1. Human error. 2. Inappropriate pricing. 3. Procurement parties and processes. And 4. Fraudulent activities. It is essential to discuss these 4 sources of procurement risks. 1. Human error. Human error is a significant source of risk in procurement because a procurement activity involves the process, people, technology and the environment. Process risks can come from how a procurement is conducted. For example, if an organization needs a transparent process for awarding contracts, this could lead to mistakes being made. People risks come from the people involved in the procurement process. For example, if they need to be qualified or have the appropriate experience, this could lead to problems. Technology risks can come from the way procurement is conducted online. For example, if there is a problem with a website used in the process, this could lead to delays or mistakes. The environmental risks can come from everything outside the procurement process. For example, if harsh weather disrupts proceedings during bidding, this could lead to problems. 2. Inappropriate pricing. Inappropriate pricing is a primary source of risk in procurement. Moreover, inappropriate pricing may result in price, contractual, performance, and supplier reliability risks. Price risk is the most common type of risk, and it's the one that businesses most often worry about. Contractual risk refers to the potential for problems with contracts. Performance risk pertains to the potential for delays or failures in the delivery or performance of services. Supplier reliability risks indicate how reliable a supplier is. The most significant source of price risk is competition. When many suppliers are available, getting a good price deal is challenging. This means businesses can end up paying more than they would if they only had one supplier. There are also risks associated with bidding processes. If several interested parties bid on a project, the lowest bidder can win without offering a good deal. Finally, businesses face price risks when they negotiate contracts with suppliers. If an agreement is too expensive or too lenient, it could lead to problems down the line. Contractual risk refers to the potential for problems with contracts. This can occur in two main ways. Complete or accurate paperwork can lead to disputes over payments and obligations, and disagreements about terms can result in delays in delivery or performance of services. Other types of problems that can occur during contract negotiations include bid rigging, when bidders offer fraudulent bids to win the contract, and collusion, when companies work together to. 3. Procurement parties and process. The procurement parties and process are another source of risk in procurement. The procurement parties and process include the buyer, the supplier, the contract, and the implementation process. The supplier is the most important source of risk in procurement because they provide the products or services purchased. If a supplier is fraudulent, dishonest, or unable to deliver on their commitments, it can cause significant problems for the buyer. Suppliers can also be subject to political or economic instability, affecting their ability to meet contractual obligations. The buyer is responsible for ensuring that the products or services they purchase are high quality and meet their requirements. If they need more information about the supplier or if they need to correct mistakes during negotiations, they may end up purchasing inferior products or services. Buyers can also be subject to financial risks if they cannot pay for what they have ordered. The contract is a crucial aspect of the documentation between the buyer and the supplier. It specifies all the terms and conditions for delivering goods or services. If either party fails to live up to their promises in this document, it could lead to disputes and delays in delivery. Contract risks may include intellectual property infringement, price gouging, and corruption by suppliers. The implementation process is also vital to ensure a practical procurement framework. 4. Fraudulent activities. Fraudulent activities are vital sources of risk in procurement. Fraud may arise in procurement through poor vendor management, inadequate contract management, inadequate systems and controls, and fraud. Poor vendor management can occur when a company needs to properly screen and select vendors, maintain accurate records of contracts and payments, or perform adequate due diligence on potential suppliers. Inadequate contract management can occur when a company needs to properly document the contract terms, accurately track performance milestones, or adequately respond to complaints from either party. Inadequate systems and controls can lead to theft or fraud by allowing unauthorized employees access to sensitive information or by allowing fraudulent vendors to obtain significant business benefits without proper approval. Finally, fraud can take many forms, including bribery, kickbacks, falsified documents, and embezzlement. It is necessary to discuss the common procurement risks arising from the four primary procurement risk sources discussed earlier. Common procurement risks. There are several common procurement risks. Any of these potential risks can and will negatively impact a business if they are not dealt with and planned for with a robust risk assessment and management plan. Let us discuss 20 common procurement risks. 1. Inaccurate needs analysis. The procurement process begins with a needs analysis. The internal needs analysis is the first step of the procurement process. Appraising the current performance, budgets, inventory, growth projections, resource levels, economic influences, and more is essential. This analysis gives you a clear idea of what your procurement processes need to meet targets and what you can do to adapt to weaknesses in supply chains and overall markets. Hence, an organization can highlight what you need, when, and at what cost to run your company. Forecasting is one of the tools and techniques used to help businesses develop a better procurement strategy, and it can assist in avoiding problems due to supply chain issues. For example, buying too much or too little of a product can start a cascade of unfortunate events that will impact your business negatively. Buying too much leads to a surplus in inventory, which may require additional storage costs and lead to potential inventory damage or obsolescence. Buying too little may cause you to run out of inventory, which impacts your ability to deliver for your end customer. Losing customers will affect your business's overall profitability. An organization must highlight potential risks in the forecasting aspect of your procurement planning process early to mitigate any damages that may be caused to your business. 2. Inadequate vendor management and sourcing. Picking an inadequate vendor and making sourcing mistakes can prove costly. Just because you have a contract does not guarantee that things will go smoothly. Your business depends on good quality products or services, consistent pricing, and availability from your vendor. So, an essential part of your risk analysis is evaluating your supplier and the relevant supply chain workflow. Here are some tips on how to select the right vendors and suppliers. 1. Understand the business importance of the good or service being purchased in terms of its criticality and apply extra due diligence since a failure here may significantly impact profitability. 2. Conduct due diligence to ensure the vendor is financially stable and continue to monitor this. 3. Ensure vendors have appropriate ESG standards in place. 4. Evaluate each vendor from a foreign ownership, control or influence, FOCI, perspective and for any adverse media. 5. Obtain references and visit the relevant facility to be used to provide goods and services where possible. 6. Confirm with the vendor that they can deliver as agreed based on your specifications. 7. Weigh the risks associated with the relevant supplier facility or supply chain. And 8. Work with the vendor to define and agree on appropriate key performance indicators, KPIs, the contract, and its ongoing management. 3. Unreliable supplier and vendor onboarding. Communication with suppliers and vendors breaks down quickly if they need to be stronger initially. All parties need to be engaged through onboarding to be familiarized with the company's expectations to see success. An unreliable supplier might need more time to deliver the goods, which could affect business operations and hurt the company's bottom line. Unreliable suppliers don't just delay deliveries, the quality of goods received might differ from what was ordered. That could eventually result in lost sales, and the turnover might be below forecasts, ultimately affecting investor confidence. Similarly, suppliers might not comply with local regulations or uphold contract stipulations. This could also cause a negative fiscal impact on your business. The vendor onboarding process includes collecting necessary documentation, reviewing standard questions, completing final compliance checks, and reviewing timelines and expected deliverables. With a well-managed onboarding process, you will get all the essential paperwork and likely catch warning signs from unreliable and unethical vendors. 4. No supply chain risk management. To state the obvious, supply chain risk management is critical for businesses because suppliers rely on their supply chains to deliver. The annual Business Continuity Institute Supply Chain Resilience Report has shown that around 40% of disruptions occur below your direct supplier. According to a recent State of Retail Supply Chain report, 61% of businesses use Excel as their supply chain planning solution, and 85.9% don't use any analytics system to reduce risk. If a company is constantly dealing with disruptions in its supply chain, you can't focus on optimizing it or taking a proactive posture to minimize risk. An organization may need more resources on its procurement team and require that technology help fill those gaps. Organizations can use procurement management software to analyze their supply chain system from a risk perspective. 5. Inadequate vendor management. Vendor management involves overseeing communication channels, order management, the status of suppliers, and other data and business metrics that will be used to define successful procurement. The vendor relationship becomes more accessible if an organization manually tracks milestones and activities with every vendor and supplier. Effective vendor management allows companies to consistently monitor and analyze opportunities and bottlenecks without the inconvenience of incomplete data across scattered systems. 6. Price instability. Unforeseen pricing changes can significantly undermine your business operations. However, there are digital analytics processes that can help. Organizations can take an analytics-heavy approach to make baseline predictions for product pricing changes. This approach consists of 3 steps. Step 1, take a clean sheet approach. This focuses on analyzing a product's complete cost structure, from raw materials to delivery, to understand how prices may change over time. Step 2, model expected price changes using forecast metrics and analysis from market experts. Step 3, rank the risk of inflation in your vendor and supplier categories. 7. Inaccurate forecasting. Procurement forecasting is your ability to predict sales and periods of peak customer demand and, consequently, develop the right strategies to support those predictions. But when forecasting numbers deviate less, it restricts your operations and harms your ability to generate revenue. Inaccurate forecasting introduces risk in the form of tight inventory, higher expediting costs, blown budgets, and poor relationships with vendors and suppliers. 8. Underdeveloped contract management processes. Having underdeveloped contract management processes is a typical procurement risk. Without defined contract management processes and subject matter expertise, you may create a contract that inadvertently breaks the law, enters a legal gray area, or has inadequate or unclear KPIs and review processes. Without proper contracts with vendors that address potential risks, including those associated with incorrect, incomplete and outdated data, your business's risk exposure is increased. One way to spot and address more of these risks is by using procurement and supply chain risk management software. 9. Resistance to digitalization leading to poor e-procurement adoption. To avoid risk, many companies are adopting digital solutions to centralize, scale, and conduct in-depth spending analyses on procurement processes. However, digitization is something you can only jump on your suppliers and vendors with proper training, onboarding, and an easy-to-use interface. Procurement management requires much trust for all parties to embrace new technology systems. Vendors and suppliers may need to be more willing to trust your technology with their data or spend time ramping up on a new tool. This is where it becomes valuable to use digital adoption platforms to accelerate onboarding by removing any guesswork and silos while using new systems. 10. Compliance management. Procurement compliance involves formulating processes and policies that guard your cash flow against unauthorized spending, poor ethics, and high-risk partnerships with suppliers and vendors. Procurement compliance standards can include baseline expectations for on-contract spending, supplier performance, discounts, and payment time. With compliance management, companies have more protection against poor cash management practices from internal team members and external partners. 11. Poor supplier management. Poor supplier management can lead to a series of problems, including unpaid invoices, a breakdown in supplier relationships, poor contract compliance, and even expose the company to lawsuits. Several risks must be analyzed at this stage, including 1. Relations and communications with suppliers, 2. Account and order management, 3. Managing and storing supplier data, and 4. Inefficiencies in the purchase order process. For instance, digitizing and automating purchase orders ensures accurate record keeping and reduces human error. Businesses can foster better relationships with their suppliers by establishing clear, two-way communication, gathering feedback, and ensuring invoices are matched and cleared on time. 12. Human error. The potential for human error is relatively high, especially for businesses that manage procure-to-pay processes manually. Handwritten forms, POs, and invoices are more susceptible to human error, and there is also a risk of paper copies being lost along the way, further increasing the risk of invoice fraud. Human error can lead to documents fraught with mistakes and loss of essential forms or data, ultimately increasing the invoice approval cycle time. This also leads to more inefficiencies as companies must spend more time rectifying mistakes. Human error in the procurement department can be significantly reduced by businesses that use procure-to-pay software systems and rely on a fully automated processing model. 13. Budget overspend. Overspending leads to reliable procurement from start to finish. It puts your relationship with suppliers and vendors at risk. Several aspects of the procurement process may result in red flags in a firm's budget before an order is placed, including internal needs analysis, vendor and supplier onboarding, market forecasting, and compliance checks. Ultimately, the most significant source of poor spending is when companies fail to plan their needs early and don't have visibility into existing expenditures. 14. Lack of automation. Anything that requires human intervention can be a potential bottleneck and source of errors. Automation can prevent these bottlenecks and lead to fewer delays and mistakes. Consider where templates can be added to help automate troublesome parts of the company's process. The firm must standardize its procurement strategies to streamline its business. Regarding automation, an increasing range of SaaS tools support the whole sourcing and supplier management process. Setting up good processes and workflows can prevent supply chain disruptions, which should be addressed. For instance, manual data entry can impact the business procurement processes negatively in a few ways, including being time-consuming to upkeep consistently, being a source of human error, not centralizing all procurement information in a user-friendly layout, being more prone to incomplete and inconsistent data, and challenging to maintain as operations scale. 15. Poor procurement planning. There are many consequences to poor procurement planning. As the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. If your business runs out of stock or materials, it impacts your ability to compete in the marketplace and can cause costly mistakes, like lost profitability and reputational damage. That's why, as your business scales, having procurement risk solutions in place is essential to optimize business performance. 16. Supply chain disruptions. From port congestions to manufacturing delays and labor shortages, supply chains have been interrupted worldwide due to geographic limitations, political pressure, and extreme weather. One example is how the winter storms cut off food supply chains in Texas in February 2021. This was caused by a flood of panic buying from millions of impacted Texans, poor road conditions and no power in manufacturing and warehousing facilities. An organization's procurement process must involve the stakeholders to define scenarios that might affect supply chains in the near and long term. From there, you can identify risk management policies for low-impact and high-impact risks that may be difficult to anticipate. 17. Talent shortage. Talent shortages can stem from a range of social and organizational factors. Some of the most familiar discussions of the 2020s involve how talent is becoming more conscious of their employer's stance on work flexibility, work-life balance, and environmental, social, and governance (ESG) initiatives. Procurement companies can handle a talent shortage rather than a shortage of the right talent. First, companies must reevaluate their hiring processes, leadership, and work culture. Next, they should embrace digitization to see how they can offload manual, outdated processes from employees so teams can focus on more high-impact work. 18. Inefficient contract management. Contracts are used in some industries to manage risk and maintain profits through index-based pricing. Contracts minimize risk by ensuring procurement practices do not violate the law and are defined by clear KPIs and review processes. Poor contract management happens when contracts are left unmonitored after they have been signed. Contract management should be a crucial part of your digitization process so you can automate contract signing and streamline vendor terms and conditions, making them easy to find and access. 19. Corruption and fraud. Both fraud and corruption are significant procurement risks. Whereas most risks are caused by the lack of available data or process inefficiencies, corruption and fraud are born of malicious intentions. These include risks associated with funds embezzlement, invoice fraud, and theft. The potential for corruption and fraud is incredibly high in the manual procure-to-pay process, especially when there are no clear protocols for only buying from approved suppliers. Without three-way matching and defined approval hierarchies in place, it's easy for an individual to submit a fake invoice and get approval from the procurement department. Corruption and fraud risks are easily mitigated by migrating to a digital, automated accounts payable function. 20. Ineffective supplier relationship management. Supplier management is a big responsibility for any procurement organization. After all, the most looked-through relationship in a business is with its vendors. A company must have a streamlined vendor evaluation and management if it wants to deliver quality services. While keeping a close watch on your internal processes is easy, dealing with third parties is more complex. No matter how diligent you are, numerous gaps and shortfalls regularly surfaced. Here are some of the common supplier relationship management flaws that business organizations must address. 1. Not reviewing the supplier's past and current project track records. 2. Communication problems or gaps lead to the supplier not understanding your strategic objectives. 3. Not considering or overlooking the supplier industry's business culture. 4. Lack of transparency. 5. Failing to maintain relationship harmony at critical times. 6. Inefficient supplier training and relationship nurturing. And 7. Unfavorable contract terms and resulting conflicts. Regarding supplier relationship management, cloud-based tools can help organizations understand the reliability of their suppliers, any conflicts of interest, commitments to sustainable procurement, and, most importantly, whether their work ethics match yours. Next, let us discuss the role of risk management in a procurement process. The role of risk management in a procurement process. Procurement, the process of acquiring goods and services for your organization, involves inherent risks that can impact your bottom line, project timelines, and reputation. Effective risk management in procurement identifies, assesses, and mitigates these potential problems, ensuring a smooth and successful procurement process. In the complex procurement world, Navigating potential pitfalls and ensuring smooth operations requires a proactive approach to risk management. It is not just about identifying risks but about taking calculated steps to mitigate their impact and safeguard your organization's bottom line. Let's delve into the crucial role of risk management in the procurement process, using practical examples to illustrate its importance. The ever-present risk landscape. Procurement involves interconnected elements: suppliers, contracts, logistics, finances, and regulations. Each of these elements consists of potential risks that can materialize as supplier risks, unreliable deliveries, quality issues, financial instability, or ethical concerns. Contractual risks, unclear terms, incomplete documentation, or change orders leading to disputes and delays. Financial risks, price fluctuations, currency exchange rates, or payment delays impacting costs and budgets. Operational risks, logistical challenges, delays in customs clearance, or natural disasters disrupting the supply chain. Reputational risks, sourcing from unethical suppliers, product recalls, or safety issues damaging your brand image. Practical examples. Example 1, a company relies on a single supplier for a critical component. If this supplier faces a production shutdown, the company's operations could be halted, causing significant financial losses. Mitigation, diversifying the supplier base or negotiating a backup production agreement. Example 2, a contract needs more explicit quality specifications, leading to disputes and delays when the delivered goods don't meet expectations. Mitigation, implement detailed quality control procedures and include clear acceptance criteria in the contract. Example 3, a company experiences delays in customs clearance due to inadequate documentation. This might result in penalties, disrupted production schedules, and increased costs. Mitigation, ensuring proper documentation is prepared well and seeking guidance from customs brokers. The importance of risk management in procurement. Consequences of ignoring risk management in procurement include financial losses, overpaying for goods, experiencing delivery delays, or facing regulatory fines. Operational disruptions, production halts, project delays, or reputational damage impacting customer trust. Contractual disputes, misunderstandings or incomplete documentation leading to legal battles. Ethical concerns, sourcing from unethical suppliers jeopardizes your brand image and values. Risk management is vital in procurement. Effective risk management in procurement helps an organization to prepare for and mitigate risk through 1. Proactive identification, assessing potential risks throughout the process, including supplier selection, contract finalization and delivery. 2. Likelihood and impact analysis, evaluating each risk's probability and potential financial, operational, and reputational consequences. 3. Mitigation strategies, implementing measures to reduce the likelihood or impact of identified risks. This might involve supplier diversification, reducing reliance on single sources, negotiating better contracts, negotiating detailed terms and quality specifications, financial buffers, allocating contingency funds for unexpected costs, logistics planning, proactive steps to address potential delays, and ethical sourcing, partnering with suppliers aligned with your values. 4. Monitoring and review, regularly reviewing the effectiveness of a risk management plan and updating it appropriately to improve the risk management framework. Real-world illustrations. Imagine a company heavily reliant on a single overseas supplier for a critical component. A political dispute or natural disaster in that country could disrupt production, highlighting the importance of supplier diversification. Conversely, a poorly negotiated contract lacking precise quality specifications could lead to disputes and wasted resources if delivered goods don't meet expectations. The bottom line. Risk management is not just an add-on but an essential element of any successful procurement strategy. By proactively identifying and mitigating potential threats, you can ensure a smooth supply chain, optimize costs, protect your reputation, and ultimately contribute to the overall success of your organization. Remember, anticipating risks in the dynamic procurement world is not just wise. It is essential for navigating towards a secure and prosperous future. By proactively managing risks, procurement teams can ensure a secure and efficient supply chain, contributing to the overall success of their organization. Investing in robust risk management processes is not just a best practice but a critical business necessity in today's dynamic and interconnected world. Now, let us discuss how to mitigate the procurement risks. Mitigating procurement risks. Managing procurement risks is crucial for ensuring a business's smooth and successful operation. Here are some key strategies to mitigate procurement risks. 1. Develop a comprehensive procurement policy. Establish clear guidelines and procedures for managing the procurement process, including supplier selection, contract negotiation, and performance evaluation. Hence, a company needs to outline its procurement policy, specifying the roles and responsibilities of procurement personnel, the approval process for purchase orders, and the criteria for supplier evaluation. 2. Implement a formal supplier selection process. Evaluate suppliers rigorously based on price, quality, delivery performance, reputation, and risk factors. Conduct thorough due diligence to assess their financial stability, ethical practices, and compliance with company standards. This helps a company establish a supplier evaluation scorecard that considers various criteria, such as price quotes, past performance, certifications, and compliance with ethical guidelines. 3. Negotiate strong contracts. Clearly define the terms and conditions of supplier agreements, including pricing, delivery schedules, warranties, dispute resolution procedures, and termination clauses. Ensure contracts are legally sound and protect the company's interests. A company must employ legal counsel to draft and review contracts, ensuring they align with legal requirements and protect against potential liabilities. 4. Regularly monitor supplier performance. Track supplier performance against agreed-upon metrics, such as delivery time, quality, cost-effectiveness, and customer satisfaction. Identify and address any performance issues promptly to maintain a high standard of supplier performance. This is beneficial as it helps a company establish a performance dashboard to monitor supplier metrics, providing visibility into their performance and enabling proactive interventions when needed. 5. Utilize procurement technology. Leverage e-procurement tools and software to automate tasks, streamline processes, improve visibility into spending, and gain better insights into supplier performance. Procurement technology helps a company implement an e-procurement system that automates purchase order creation, simplifies supplier onboarding, and provides real-time data on spending patterns. 6. Implement a procurement risk management framework. Establish a formal risk management framework to identify, assess, and prioritize potential procurement risks. Develop mitigation strategies and action plans to address identified risks. Implementing a procurement risk management framework helps a company create a risk matrix that categorizes risks based on their likelihood and impact, enabling informed decision-making regarding risk mitigation strategies. 7. Establish a reporting and review process. Regularly review procurement performance data, including contract compliance, supplier performance metrics, and risk assessments. Identify areas for improvement and make necessary adjustments to procurement processes and risk management strategies. Establishing a reporting and review process helps a company conduct quarterly procurement reviews, analyze data and identify trends in supplier performance, contract compliance, and overall procurement effectiveness. 8. Conduct supplier audits. Periodically conduct supplier audits to assess their compliance with contractual obligations, quality standards, and ethical guidelines. Address any non-compliance issues promptly and take corrective action to maintain a high standard of supplier performance. Conducting supplier audits helps a company implement a supplier audit program that includes both on-site and remote audits, ensuring that suppliers adhere to company standards and maintain consistent levels of quality and performance. 9. Promote collaboration and communication. Foster a culture of collaboration and open communication among procurement personnel, suppliers, and other stakeholders. Encourage proactive communication of potential issues or risks to facilitate timely mitigation. Promoting collaboration and communication helps a company encourage regular communication between procurement personnel and suppliers, ensuring timely information sharing and collaboration on risk mitigation strategies. 10. Continuous improvement. Regularly evaluate and refine procurement processes, risk management strategies, and supplier evaluation criteria based on experience, market trends, and evolving business needs. Continuous improvement is essential as it helps a company conduct annual procurement process reviews, incorporating stakeholder feedback and adapting procedures to improve efficiency, reduce risks, and enhance procurement outcomes. Procurement risks can be managed by developing and implementing sound procurement risk management. Procurement risk management. Procurement risk management entails identifying, assessing, and mitigating potential risks that can arise during the procurement process. It involves identifying, analyzing, mitigating, planning, and monitoring potential risks to your supply chain. Procurement risk management involves identifying, assessing, and mitigating potential risks of acquiring goods, services, or works. The goal is to ensure procurement activities are conducted efficiently, cost-effectively, and with minimal negative impact on the organization. Effective procurement risk management enhances the likelihood of successful project completion and helps organizations avoid potential disruptions. Effective procurement risk management enables organizations to remain operational when something goes wrong. Procurement risk management aims to protect the organization from financial or operational losses, ensure timely delivery of goods and services, and maintain a high-quality standard. Effective risk management demands eliminating situations that put your organization at unnecessary, increased risk. It also involves finding solutions to mitigate internal and external risks. Effective risk management also requires risk analysis. An organization must map out potential risks, the likelihood of their occurrence, and whether or not you can effectively avoid them without disturbing your supply chain. Risk management is not a one-off event, either. Instead, an organization should conduct risk assessment regularly to minimize the disruption of a procurement process. Organizations must identify possible courses of action. These include ignoring risks that pose no real threat, reducing the likelihood of a risk occurring, removing the possibility of a risk occurring, and managing risk potential with prepared solutions. A firm procurement risk management process should also delegate which team members are responsible for handling certain types of risks. That way, they are ready for an organized, quick response. Importance of procurement risk management. Procurement risk management could be more excellent. It is necessary for your bottom line. Businesses must consistently monitor risk factors impacting their current and future procurement. Here are some reasons why procurement risk management can help you drive growth and revenue. 1. Reduced costs. By identifying and mitigating risks, organizations can prevent costly mistakes and reduce the likelihood of financial losses. 2. Improved efficiency. Effective risk management can help streamline the procurement process, reduce wasted time and resources, and improve overall efficiency. 3. Enhanced quality. By carefully selecting and managing suppliers, organizations can ensure they receive high-quality goods and services that meet their needs. 4. Protected reputation. A robust risk management approach can help to protect a company's reputation by minimizing the likelihood of ethical or legal violations. And 5. Maintained business continuity. Organizations can better prepare for and respond to supply chain disruptions and other crises by monitoring potential disruptions and developing contingency plans. Procurement risk management process. Risk management in procurement ensures that potential risks involved with the purchase of products are identified, evaluated, and mitigated so that adverse consequences are minimized. If procurement risk management is maintained, achieving the goals of the entire procurement process comes naturally. In addition, it guarantees you proactive decision-making that avoids undesirable outcomes. Here are the 5 steps to manage risks in your procurement processes. Step 1. Risk identification. This is the first stage of a procurement risk management process. It entails identifying potential risks related to procurement, including market conditions, supplier capabilities, legal and regulatory issues, and external factors. Procurement risk can be identified by evaluating a firm's supplier relationships, market trends, economic factors, and regulatory changes that might affect your procurement process. A risk register should be developed and updated based on an organization's risk exposure. Step 2. Risk analysis and ranking. Procurement risk assessment evaluates the likelihood and impact of identified risks on procurement processes and outcomes. Risk assessment aims to assess the probability of risks occurring and their potential impact. It involves assigning a risk rating to each identified risk. Probability or likelihood focuses on evaluating the chance of a particular outcome happening, including considering the frequency with which the outcome may arise. Impact focuses on assessing the effect or result of a specific outcome, usually considered in terms of effect in cost, scheduling and quality. Based on the potential impact and likelihood of an occurrence, evaluating the identified probable risks can help you prioritize which needs immediate call-to-action solutions. Once you have identified the procurement risk, the next step is to break it down into its components to understand why it arose, what factors contributed, and what efforts could be adopted to mitigate the risk. Risk analysis is simply making a concerted effort to comprehend just how significant the risk is and what can be done about it. Risk ranking makes channeling your efforts and managing risks with limited resources easier. Step 3. Risk response. Once risks have been identified and assessed, they must be addressed and managed. The response must be proportionate to the level of the risk that will have been determined as part of the risk assessment. Risk response entails developing strategies to minimize or eliminate the impact of risks. This may include diversifying suppliers, negotiating favorable contracts, or implementing contingency plans. This step is where a firm develops strategies to minimize the impact of identified risks. This involves diversifying suppliers, negotiating favorable contracts, and implementing contingency plans. Generally, risk response options include risk avoidance, risk reduction, risk retention, risk transfer, and risk sharing. It is essential to describe risk response options. Risk avoidance ensures that the risk event does not happen or affect the company's objectives. Risk reduction or mitigation consists of action aimed at reducing the probability of occurrence and the impact of a risk to below an acceptable threshold. Risk retention entails consciously deciding to do nothing and accepting the positive and negative consequences of the risk. Retention is the strategy of choice for small risks, where the cost of any response would exceed the benefit or the avoided loss. Some other risks, which can be very significant, cannot be avoided, mitigated, or transferred to a third party, therefore, they are accepted as an inevitable part of a business. Risk transfer consists of shifting the impact of a risk to a third party, for example, an insurance company or a main contractor. Risk sharing means assigning a portion of opportunity ownership to a third party better equipped to capture the benefit, for example, setting up a joint venture. Step 4. Risk monitoring. Continuously monitor the procurement process and adjust risk management strategies as needed. This ensures that new risks are identified and addressed promptly. This is necessary to monitor the risks you have identified closely. Frequently assess their status and adapt your mitigation strategies when required. Step 5. Response planning. The feedback from risk monitoring serves as a basis for response planning. Risk response planning helps an organization to think ahead and prepare for the worst-case scenarios. Make sure to have predefined action plans for each identified risk that outline the steps you need to take if it ever materializes. Minimizing procurement process risks. Lack of visibility and transparency are significant reasons many companies fail to detect risks. Here are some ways you can adopt more organized and transparent procurement practices. 1. Standardize procurement processes. Standardization ensures that every team member goes through the same company-approved steps when conducting procurement processes or communicating with suppliers and vendors. Standardized procurement processes helps ensure 1. A defined list of business-critical factors to drive your internal needs analysis. 2. Vendor and supplier assessment is conducted according to a set guideline. 3. Teams follow a clear list or policy on vendor documentation and information that needs to be communicated. 4. Expenditure is brought through a review process that removes ambiguity and aligns with overall budgets. And 5. Performance data is consistently captured into databases. Standardization is easier to maintain if all processes are monitored and tracked manually. By centralizing a business strategic procurement framework into a digital database or portal, your team and external partners have no excuse if they fail to follow set guidelines. Procurement compliance. Procurement compliance ensures that all procurement activities comply with the organization's policies, procedures, and legal and regulatory requirements. This includes everything from selecting suppliers to placing orders to paying invoices. Organizations must maintain procurement compliance to protect their financial interests, avoid legal risks, and maintain a good reputation. Procurement compliance helps ensure sound procurement risk management. Procurement compliance involves providing procurement activities with guidelines and policies that comply with procurement laws and regulations. Procurement compliance ensures that vendors, contracts, and purchases influenced by the procurement department will not risk organizations legally and financially. Benefits of procurement compliance. Here are the vital benefits of procurement compliance. 1. Reduced financial risk. By complying with procurement policies and procedures, organizations can minimize the risk of financial losses due to fraud, waste, and abuse. 2. Enhanced reputation. Maintaining a good procurement compliance reputation can help protect a company's brand and attract new customers and partners. 3. Improved efficiency. Compliance with procurement procedures can lead to more efficient and effective procurement processes, saving time and money. And 4. Strengthened legal defense. Organizations that comply with procurement regulations are better positioned to defend themselves against legal challenges. Critical elements of procurement compliance. Procurement compliance is an ongoing process that requires continuous attention and adaptation. By developing and implementing a sound procurement compliance program, organizations can minimize their risk of financial losses, protect their reputation, and ensure that their procurement activities are conducted fairly, ethically, and lawfully. Here are the critical elements of procurement compliance. 1. Establish clear policies and procedures. Organizations should have clear policies and procedures that outline the procurement process, including the requirements for supplier selection, contract negotiation, and payment approval. For example, a company might have a policy that requires all procurement requests to be submitted through a formal system and that legal counsel must review all contracts before they are signed. 2. Implement training programs. Employees involved in the procurement process should receive training on compliance policies and procedures. This training should cover topics such as conflict of interest, ethics, and fraud prevention. A company might provide training on how to identify and avoid conflicts of interest, how to comply with anti-corruption laws, and how to report suspected fraud or misconduct. 3. Conduct regular audits. Organizations should regularly audit their procurement activities to ensure compliance with all applicable policies, procedures, and regulations. A company might conduct quarterly audits of its procurement records to verify that approved purchase orders made all purchases, that all contracts were adequately negotiated and executed, and that the terms made all payments of the contracts. 4. Effective supplier relationship management. Organizations should carefully manage their relationships with suppliers to ensure compliance with all applicable laws and regulations. This includes conducting due diligence on potential suppliers, negotiating fair and transparent contracts, and enforcing supplier compliance with company standards. A company might require all suppliers to sign a statement of compliance with the company's ethical and social responsibility standards. 5. Establish a whistleblowing mechanism. Organizations should provide a safe and confidential way for employees to report suspected procurement compliance violations. A company might establish a hotline or email address where employees can report suspected violations without fear of retaliation. Types of procurement compliance. Procurement compliance encompasses various legal, ethical, and regulatory requirements that organizations must adhere to when acquiring goods and services. These compliance obligations can be broadly categorized into the following 7 types. 1. Contract compliance. Ensuring all procurement contracts are appropriately negotiated, executed, and adhered to throughout the contract life cycle. This includes fulfilling contractual obligations, making timely payments, and promptly addressing discrepancies or disputes. A company must ensure that its purchase agreements clearly outline the terms and conditions of the deal, including pricing, delivery dates, quality standards, and dispute resolution procedures. 2. Anti-corruption compliance. It is adhering to anti-bribery and corruption laws and regulations to prevent the payment of bribes or kickbacks to secure contracts or gain unfair advantages. This includes implementing transparent procurement processes, conducting due diligence on potential suppliers, and documenting all financial transactions. A company must have policies and procedures to prevent bribery and corruption, such as requiring competitive bidding for contracts and prohibiting employees from accepting supplier gifts and gratification. 3. Conflict of interest compliance. They prevent conflicts of interest between employees and suppliers to maintain fairness and ethical conduct in procurement decisions. This involves identifying and managing potential conflicts, such as personal relationships or financial ties between employees and suppliers. A company must establish clear guidelines for employees to disclose potential conflicts of interest and avoid participating in procurement decisions that could benefit them and their associates. 4. Fairness and transparency compliance. They ensure that procurement processes are fair, transparent, and non-discriminatory to all suppliers. This includes providing equal access to opportunities, using objective selection criteria, and avoiding favoritism or collusion. A company must ensure that all procurement requests are publicly posted, that all suppliers are evaluated on their merits, and that decisions are made based on objective criteria rather than personal connections or favoritism. 5. Environmental and social responsibility compliance. It is adhering to environmental and social responsibility standards to minimize the negative impact of procurement activities on the environment and society. This includes sourcing products and services from sustainable suppliers, promoting labor rights, and minimizes environmental impact. A company might require its suppliers to commit to sustainable practices, such as using recycled materials, reducing energy consumption, and minimizing waste. 6. Data privacy and security compliance. They are protecting sensitive customer and company data throughout the procurement process. This includes implementing appropriate data security measures, restricting access to confidential information, and complying with data privacy regulations. A company must ensure that its procurement systems are secure, that personal data is handled carefully, and that vendors are obligated to protect sensitive information. 7. Intellectual property compliance. They protect intellectual property rights, IPRs, and avoid infringement of third-party intellectual property. This involves ensuring that procured goods and services do not contain unauthorized intellectual property, IP, properly licensing intellectual property protected materials, and adhering to patent and copyright laws. A company might require its suppliers to certify that their products do not infringe on any third-party IP and to obtain necessary licenses for any IP-protected components used in their products or services. Compliance with these various procurement regulations is crucial for organizations to maintain ethical business practices, protect their reputation, and avoid legal consequences. By implementing vital procurement compliance programs and conducting regular audits, organizations can ensure that their procurement activities are conducted responsibly under the applicable laws and regulations. Challenges of procurement compliance. While maintaining procurement compliance is essential for organizations, it can be challenging due to various factors. Here are some of the critical challenges faced by organizations in adhering to procurement compliance regulations. 1. Complexity and overlap of regulations. The procurement compliance landscape is vast and complex, with many laws, regulations, and industry standards that organizations must navigate. This can be overwhelming for procurement teams, especially those working in global markets where varying compliance requirements apply. A company operating in multiple countries may need to adhere to different anti-bribery laws, labor regulations, and data privacy standards in each jurisdiction. 2. Volume and speed of procurement transactions. Organizations often conduct a high volume of procurement transactions across various departments and locations. This can make it challenging to maintain oversight and ensure that all transactions comply with all relevant regulations. A large retailer with hundreds of suppliers and thousands of monthly procurement transactions may need help tracking and monitoring compliance across its entire supply chain. 3. Reliance on suppliers' compliance. Organizations often rely on suppliers to adhere to the same procurement compliance standards. However, thoroughly verifying and monitoring supplier compliance can be difficult, especially when dealing with many suppliers in different countries. A company sourcing components from a global supplier network may need to improve its ability to fully assess the supplier's compliance with labor laws or environmental standards. 4. Lack of clear policies and procedures. Inadequate or poorly communicated procurement policies and procedures can lead to clarity and compliance among employees responsible for procurement decisions. A company with vague or outdated procurement policies may leave employees unsure how to identify and manage potential conflicts of interest or ensure fair and transparent procurement processes. 5. Limited training and awareness. Without proper training and awareness of procurement compliance regulations, employees may make unintentional mistakes or not recognize potential compliance issues. A procurement specialist may need to know the latest anti-corruption rules or how to document procurement transactions to maintain compliance properly. 6. Limited resources and budget. Organizations may need to manage their ability to invest in robust procurement compliance programs, such as implementing automated compliance checks or conducting comprehensive supplier audits. A small business with limited procurement staff may need more capacity to fully implement a complex compliance program and regularly audit its suppliers. 7. Rapidly changing regulations. Procurement compliance requirements constantly evolve due to new laws, regulations, and industry standards. Organizations need to stay up to date on these changes to ensure their compliance efforts remain effective. A company operating in a regulated industry, such as pharmaceuticals or healthcare, may need to adapt its compliance program to reflect changes in drug approval processes or patient privacy regulations. 8. Cybersecurity. A company must avoid data breaches to minimize cyber attacks. As discussed earlier, an organization can protect its systems from hackers in many ways. However, you must ensure your team has the expertise to implement these security measures without any vulnerabilities. Business organizations must invest in new talent and third-party risk management to enhance their procurement network to comply with security regulations. It's also always wise to have your employees complete a cybersecurity training course to protect themselves and the company better. By addressing these challenges, organizations can enhance their procurement compliance efforts and minimize non-compliance risks. Investing in solid compliance programs, providing comprehensive employee training, and maintaining open communication with suppliers are crucial steps towards achieving and maintaining compliance in the procurement process. Procurement compliance metrics. Compliance metrics are quantitative measures that organizations use to track and assess the effectiveness of their procurement compliance efforts. These metrics provide valuable insights into how well an organization adheres to relevant regulations, ethical standards, and internal policies. Given procurement compliance requirements, discussing these 7 types of compliance metrics is essential. 1. Contract compliance. Here are the 2 standard contract compliance metrics. Percentage of contracts signed with suppliers that are appropriately reviewed and approved. This metric measures the effectiveness of the procurement team in ensuring that all contracts comply with company policies and legal requirements. Average time to complete contract negotiation and approval. This metric indicates the efficiency of the contract management process and the timeliness of compliance checks. 2. Anti-corruption compliance. Here are the 2 standard anti-corruption compliance metrics. Number of reported and investigated potential bribery or corruption incidents. This metric assesses the organization's vigilance in detecting and addressing potential compliance issues. Percentage of supplier due diligence assessments that identify potential compliance risks. This metric measures the effectiveness of supplier risk profiling and the identification of possible red flags. 3. Conflict of interest compliance. Here are the 2 common conflicts of interest compliance metrics. Percentage of procurement transactions that undergo conflict of interest reviews. This metric evaluates the extent to which the organization is proactive in identifying and mitigating potential conflicts of interest. Number of conflict of interest disclosures made by procurement personnel. This metric indicates the awareness and compliance of employees regarding conflict of interest policies. 4. Fairness and transparency compliance. Here are the 2 common fairness and transparency compliance metrics. Percentage of procurement decisions made through competitive bidding processes. This metric measures the organization's commitment to fair and open procurement practices. Number of complaints received regarding fairness and transparency in procurement practices. This metric assesses the organization's ability to address and resolve issues related to fairness and transparency. 5. Environmental and social responsibility compliance. Here are the 2 standard environmental and social responsibility compliance metrics. Percentage of procurement spend with suppliers that meet environmental and social responsibility standards. This metric indicates the organization's commitment to sustainable sourcing and ethical business practices. Number of supplier audits conducted to assess compliance with environmental and social responsibility standards. This metric measures the organization's efforts to verify supplier compliance with its standards. 6. Data privacy and security compliance. Here are the 2 standard data privacy and security compliance metrics. Percentage of procurement systems that meet industry standard security requirements. This metric assesses the organization's commitment to protecting sensitive data throughout the procurement process. Number of data breaches or security incidents related to procurement activities. This metric measures the effectiveness of data privacy and security controls. 7. Intellectual property compliance. Here are the two standard intellectual property compliance metrics. Percentage of procurement transactions involving intellectual property that undergo proper licensing checks. This metric assesses the organization's ability to safeguard intellectual property rights and avoid infringement. Number of intellectual property infringement claims related to procurement activities. This metric indicates the organization's exposure to potential IP-related disputes. By regularly monitoring these compliance metrics, organizations can gain valuable insights into their procurement compliance programs' effectiveness and identify improvement areas. This proactive approach helps to minimize the risk of non-compliance, protect the organization from legal and reputational damage, and foster a culture of ethical and sustainable procurement practices. Best practices for ensuring procurement compliance. Companies must build and execute their procurement compliance program methodically and consistently to achieve the best results. Here are some essential best practices that organizations can implement to strengthen their procurement compliance efforts and minimize the risk of non-compliance. 1. Establish clear procurement policies and procedures. A company can establish good procedure policies and procedures by develop comprehensive procurement policies and procedures covering all procurement process aspects, including supplier selection, contract negotiation, payment approval, and performance monitoring. And ensure these policies and procedures are well documented, easily accessible, and regularly reviewed and updated to reflect changes in regulations, industry standards, and the organization's business needs. 2. Implement a robust supplier due diligence process. A company can implement a robust supplier due diligence process by thoroughly due diligence is performed on all potential suppliers to assess their financial stability, ethical practices, environmental compliance, and labor standards. Utilizing a standardized due diligence checklist or questionnaire to gather relevant supplier information and identify potential red flags. And conduct site visits or engage third-party auditors to verify supplier compliance with relevant standards and regulations. 3. Implement a strong anti-corruption program. A company can implement a strong anti-corruption program by establishing a clear anti-corruption policy that prohibits bribery, kickbacks, and other unethical practices in the procurement process. Providing comprehensive training to procurement personnel on anti-corruption laws, ethical sourcing practices, and conflict of interest prevention. And implement a whistleblowing mechanism for employees to report suspected corruption or misconduct without fear of retaliation. 4. Promote transparency and fairness in procurement. A company can promote transparency and fairness in procurement by adopting competitive bidding practices for significant procurement projects to ensure that suppliers are selected based on merit and value for money. Maintain clear and transparent documentation of procurement decisions, including justifications for supplier selection and pricing rationale. And establish an open-door policy for suppliers to raise concerns or seek clarification regarding procurement processes. 5. Implement effective contract management. A company can implement effective contract management. Review and approve all procurement contracts to ensure they comply with company policies, legal requirements, and supplier agreements. Establish clear performance expectations for suppliers and conduct regular monitoring to ensure compliance with contract terms. And implement effective dispute resolution mechanisms to address any issues or disagreements during the contract lifecycle. 6. Embrace technology for compliance enhancement. A company must embrace technology for compliance enhancement by leverage e-procurement systems to automate procurement processes, improve visibility, and facilitate compliance checks. Utilize cloud-based compliance management software to track compliance metrics, manage supplier data, and generate reports. And integrate compliance data into procurement dashboards and decision-making processes to enhance proactive risk management. 7. Foster a culture of compliance and ethics. A company can foster a culture of compliance and ethics by incorporating ethics and compliance into the company's overall culture, emphasizing the importance of ethical sourcing and sustainable practices, providing regular compliance training and awareness sessions for employees at all levels to reinforce compliance principles and procedures, and encouraging open communication and reporting potential compliance issues without fear of retaliation, creating a culture of accountability and transparency. By implementing these best practices, organizations can establish a robust procurement compliance program that minimizes risk, protects the organization's reputation, and promotes ethical and sustainable sourcing practices. Procurement management software can assist organizations in managing and automating their procurement process. Hence, it is essential to discuss procurement management software. Procurement management software. Procurement software enables an organization to execute and, ideally, automate procurement processes. Procurement software is crucial in managing the entire e-procurement lifecycle by automating supply chain tasks, including central management of purchasing, sourcing, vendors, suppliers, invoicing, and inventory maintenance. Procurement management software is a specialized tool designed to streamline and optimize the various aspects of the procurement process within an organization. The software helps facilitate the entire procurement lifecycle, from requisition to sourcing, purchasing, and payment. Its primary functions include analyzing costs, negotiating contracts, managing vendor relationships, mitigating risks, and ensuring compliance with internal procurement standards. The software facilitates streamlined communication among stakeholders, such as vendors, suppliers, and the procurement department. These processes include purchasing, order management, inventory management, supplier management, contract lifecycle management, and invoice management. Procurement software keeps all the information and procedures related to the procure-to-pay cycle within one convenient location. It can often integrate with your enterprise resource planning (ERP) platform. What procurement software does? Procurement software streamlines and automates each step of the procurement process to create a faster and more agile procurement function. It is a centralized platform, providing stakeholders real-time visibility into procurement activities. A robust procurement management software would execute core procurement functions, including enable internal teams to submit purchase requisitions for approval, automatically route approval requests to the right people and notify them until action is taken, create purchase orders based on approved purchase requisitions, electronically submit purchase orders to suppliers, manage communication with suppliers to confirm purchase orders, cancellations, or alterations as needed. Maintain an inventory of goods to help prevent shortages. Track inventory transactions as goods, materials, and services are delivered. Provide spend analysis reports based on real-time data, with insights on improving realized cost savings and maximizing profits. Streamline standardization and administration across multiple platforms. Automatically enforce purchasing policies and procurement internal controls. Provide a guided buying catalog where teams can easily make purchases from pre-approved suppliers. And, manage supplier contracts and remind teams when contracts are up for renewal and negotiation. Benefits of procurement software. Procurement software provides many benefits. Most importantly, it gives companies that use it an advantage over manual methods such as paper forms and Excel spreadsheets. Some of the most essential benefits that procurement software provides are: 1. Increased efficiency. Automating manual, time-consuming procurement processes creates lasting efficiency for your organization and frees employees to focus on more high-value tasks. 2. Better spend visibility. When using a single system for all procurement, you can see all your spending data in real time. With an advanced system, you can set up dashboards and have automated reports to ensure valuable insights. 3. Cost savings. Procurement software creates cost savings in several areas. It reduces the labor needed to run your procurement cycle and reduces costs related to maverick and efficient spending. It will help the company to reduce supplier costs by using insights from your spending data to negotiate better contracts. 4. Streamlined procurement process. When all procurement processes, from requisition through invoicing, are fast and efficient, your business is better set up for success. Organizations must have improved supplier relationships, resulting in more favorable contracts. 5. Fewer errors. Errors in the procurement process can be costly. For example, manually matching invoices to purchase orders and packing slips can sometimes let duplicate or incorrect amounts slip through. When you automate these types of processes with procurement software, there are far fewer errors and associated costs. Types of procurement software. Procurement is a complex process, and different types of procurement software address other parts of the process. There is much overlap between the different types of software, and many procurement solutions will perform most or all of these types of software within one comprehensive single platform with multiple modules. Here are some types of procurement software include. 1. Spend Analytics System. Spend Analytics software tracks every transaction, communication, and interaction on your organization conducts. This spend analysis reveals patterns in your purchasing behavior that can help you streamline your internal processes and optimize cost savings. Many spend analysis applications allow you to slice and dice your research by supplier, category, or project. These applications can exist independently, but this functionality is also included in a comprehensive procurement suite. 2. Purchase Order Software. Purchase Order (PO) software is designed to automate the purchase order process. Users can create POs from templates, auto-populate POs with purchase requisition information and vendor terms and pricing, and include boilerplate terms and conditions to meet internal and legal standards. Purchase order approval workflows are automated, with contingencies and reminders built in to ensure that the PO process is completed promptly and PO cycle times are low. It also provides a complete record of every purchase and helps reduce time and money losses due to human error, rogue spending, and fraud. PO software may be a standalone application or included in a more extensive procurement suite that provides for other parts of the purchasing process. 3. Supplier Relationship Management Platform. Supplier Relationship Management (SRM) platforms help procurement teams source and work with the best possible suppliers for their business. Using this software effectively can yield significant benefits in reduced risk, higher profits, and a better competitive advantage. Supplier Relationship Management (SRM) software can be a standalone platform or included in a more excellent suite. SRM software aims to build a diverse and healthy supply chain. It enables searching for vendors based on specific criteria such as capacity, location, certification, and compliance metrics. Procurement teams can more easily identify and collaborate with ideal suppliers through the SRM system. Finding suppliers is not the only functionality, managing them is also a key feature. Supplier Relationship Management (SRM) systems track supplier performance histories and risk profiles, making it easy to reward high-performing suppliers or trim underperformers. It can also integrate with other systems to automatically populate supplier data into forms and databases. 4. Electronic Sourcing Software. Electronic sourcing, e-sourcing, software allows suppliers to respond electronically to your requests for proposals, RFPs, requests for quotes, RFQs, and requests for information, RFIs. It streamlines these bid processes and enables exposure to more suppliers. This encourages healthy competition by allowing suppliers to see bid values relative to their competitors. 5. Contract Management. By providing templates and support for custom user-generated content, contract management software makes it easy for users to create contracts on demand. Users can route contracts for approval, track revisions, alert the procurement team when current contracts are approaching renewal, and access a centralized document repository. 6. Electronic invoicing, e-invoicing, software. Also known as e-payment software, e-invoicing connects suppliers to your procurement and accounting systems for digital invoicing and payments. Connected invoicing helps procurement teams in several ways. 1. Helps suppliers comply with contractually approved terms, conditions, and pricing. 2. Ensures invoicing and payment data are complete, transparent, and accurate. And 3. Instantly verifies invoices against the purchase order and receipt or packing slip to ensure correct payment. This is known as automated three-way matching. 7. Guided buying system. Guided buying systems create an internal business shopping experience similar to Amazon and other e-commerce platforms. These systems enable procurement professionals to develop only pre-approved, pre-populated catalogs of goods and services from approved vendors. The catalogs can also integrate with suppliers' online catalogs, punch-out catalogs and other formats. After users select items and services to purchase, they go through a checkout process that submits a purchase requisition. This request is routed for approval depending on several factors, including spend limits, item categories, and budgets, which go directly to procurement to generate a purchase order. Guided buying helps companies save money by encouraging users to buy only pre-approved items with negotiated contract terms. It discourages maverick spending while ensuring fair prices and consistent quality. 8. E-procurement software. Rather than just focusing on a single functionality, e-procurement software streamlines the entire procure-to-pay, peer-to-peer, process, including requisitions, purchasing, and accounts payable. It also encompasses critical features such as guided buying systems, supplier relationship management, and contract management. It offers customizable and all-in-one procure-to-pay software that includes the other types of procurement software. In addition to procurement functionality, it also features inventory management, asset management, supplier management, travel and expense management, and AP automation. Other software may also incorporate sourcing functionality to cover source-to-pay. Conclusion. This video has discussed procurement risk and risk management. The management of procurement risks. Procurement entails sourcing and purchasing raw materials, goods, and services by a company from suppliers and vendors. A procurement procedure is a set of guidelines and steps a company follows to acquire goods and services from suppliers. Procurement risk is the potential for financial and operational loss arising from the procurement process. Procurement risks occur when purchasing or sourcing products, services, or resources becomes unreliable. Procurement risks are scenarios where businesses could fail to buy an essential product, resource, or service. Procurement risk management involves identifying, assessing, and mitigating potential risks of acquiring goods, services, or works. Procurement compliance ensures that all procurement activities comply with the organization's policies, procedures, and legal and regulatory requirements. Procurement management software can assist organizations in managing and automating their procurement process. Procurement software enables an organization to execute and, ideally, automate procurement processes. I hope this video is educative and beneficial to you. Please post your comments below in the comments section. If this video has been educative and beneficial, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Thank you for seeing the Solomon Fadun, Risk Management of Everything videos. I love to hear from you. Please post your comments and questions in the comments section below. If you are new here, subscribe to the channel, Solomon Fadun, Risk Management of Everything's channel, and press the notification button to be notified when new videos are uploaded. Thank you.